Hey s'mores, I'm Shannon Morris. Welcome to Morse Code. I do tech reviews and tutorials, so if you are interested in becoming a more savvy interneter, subscribe for weekly videos. Have you ever wondered why people recommend not posting photos of certain items on social media? Are you wondering which things are safe to post and what is actually considered sensitive information? Well, today's video is a response to the incredibly common trend that is folks posting their COVID-19 vaccination cards on public social media. So consider this video a public service announcement for anyone, all of your friends. If anyone in your life ever shares these photos, send them this video so that they can find out what data can be found out about them whenever they post sensitive information. Now, before I get started, I did want to take a moment to thank my sponsor for today's video. The Innovation Program has graduates who have worked with the program to develop their concepts into real-world technologies. So I am featuring several innovators throughout this month, and you can check out more inventions using their links below. The Y-Fly, invented by Takanobu Watanabe, is an ornithopter that mimics the wings of an insect, capable of taking off by itself and landing by itself. Although ornithopters are already in the market, one that can actually take off by itself is unique. He hopes to have a swarm of them ready to go for the next World Expo, conveniently being held in 2025 in Osaka, Japan. And I love Osaka. So the Y-Fly is controlled with a small handheld controller and is capable of maintaining steady flight. It uses a weight to change its center of gravity and change the flight mode. This part is really cool. The wings are completely independent of each other and they can be controlled at separate speeds. He was hoping to have these ready to go for the Tokyo Olympics, but in the meantime, they have been shown off at various exhibitions in Japan. So what would you think if you saw a swarm of Y-Flies in the sky? I feel like I would just be in awe. Takanobu Watanabe is one of the innovators that is exploring the world of the future, and you can see more profiles and more innovations over at innovators.com/en. That's INNOUVATORS.com/en. Thank you so much to the Innovation Program for their support of my channel. Now here is my list of 13 items that you should never, ever post on social media. So the first few are kind of obvious. Number one is your driver's license or your social security card. Now, a driver's license has lots of information on it that's very important that can be used in identity theft. Your full name, your age, your birth date, your driver's license number. It would be very, very easy for a malicious person to take even one part of that photo, cross-check it against social media, compile a profile on you, and plug some of that info into a variety of websites that are readily available to the public to grab even more information about you. Not only this, but lots of sites use your legitimate information to authenticate who you are. So for example, some social media sites request that you send them a photo of your ID whenever you get locked out of your account to verify that you are who you say you are. So somebody could take that photo and pretend to be you, or they could even create a fake ID and get on a plane, get credit, or steal your identity in a variety of other ways. The same goes for your social security number and your card. Obviously, your SSN is used for a lot of legal documents, including for banking, for applying for loans, for getting a car, for credit, etc., etc. Even if you never, ever use your real name online, if you post your SSN, somebody could use this alone to do some pretty damaging stuff. Number two is your passport. While it is generally acceptable and sometimes hilarious to post just the terrible photo that you might take for your license or your passport, taking a photo that shows the barcode inside of your passport number, or any of the text residing within your passport could result in negative consequences. Similar to your driver's license, these can also be used for a lot of identity verification, especially if you are traveling abroad. Now let's talk about credit cards. This one's also probably quite obvious. Some credit card providers have gotten really smart though and removed the card numbers from the front of the card and just stuck them on the back or gotten rid of them altogether to make it a lot harder for an attacker to snap a photo of your card while it's in use. But most cards do not have this feature. They still have the numbers on the front. Taking a photo of the front of your card may be hiding that unique 3-digit CSV on the back of the card, but the numbers can still be used to buy stuff under your name. Additionally, a lot of card machines here in the States still only use swipe instead of chip readers, and it's pretty easy to duplicate card number information onto a second card that has a magstripe reader. Now, this is actually something that I had a job as and I had to do before I became a content creator when I was working at a credit card processor. But we used legitimate little tester cards from MasterCard and Visa in order to test machines as they were getting installed at some of our merchants and clients. Okay, so here's one that you may not even think about, number 4, which is your student ID card, your building access card, or your company badge. So first, this data can be used to create a profile around who you are, what school you go to, if you post your student ID. Now, if somebody was to find a photo of your student ID, then find a selfie of you in your dorm room, they could determine which dorm building you live in based on the public information on your college's website, make a copy of your ID card, and use it to get into that dorm. When I went to school, ID cards had a barcode employees scanned at the dorm food hall, and they had our picture and our full name and our student ID number. The cards were really thick cardstock and it was laminated. The front desk employee would just briefly look to make sure you had a card on hand whenever you came in the dorm, but they didn't actually even check the photo. They just looked up and go, okay. Now, even with thick plastic cards, these are really easy to create at home. Anybody can buy a card maker for a few $100 and print out a plastic card saying anything they want on the front of it. One of my friends had one of these card maker machines and they had a camera set up so you could stand in front of the camera, get your picture made right there on the spot at this convention, like in the hotel lobby, and they would print out your picture on an ID card and you could have that ID card say anything you want. Building access cards, company badges, those are often duplicated by physical penetration testers to see how well the physical security of a building is actually implemented. These can also be duplicated kind of like student ID cards, and a dedicated actor could also duplicate the access code authentication used whenever you swipe your card at the door. So these signals can actually be copied within close proximity since they use radio frequency electromagnetic fields, which is one of the reasons why those fancy RFID blocking wallets exist. So somebody who has their mind set could find a photo of a badge, copy it onto a blank card, program said card with the copied RFID code, and gain access. Ta-da! Okay, now for number 6, this is another one that I have a very funny story about. Airline tickets. Sure, when we are able to safely travel, it is fun to share details about your destination and when you are going. Not only does this tell potential thieves when you aren't going to be home, but it also opens yourself up for someone to potentially start messing with your itinerary. Airline tickets encode a ton of information about you. Your name, your airline, your destination, the ETA, the flight number, and they also include a nice little barcode that can be scanned whenever you go through security and you go through the gate, and that allows you to get on the plane. These barcodes may have your booking code embedded within them along with your name and maybe some other information like your seat number, etc., etc., if they aren't just printed right there on the boarding ticket. That means that not only could somebody find and grab more info about you, but they could also mess with your itinerary or get free tickets using your mileage in your account. They could change your seat assignment. They could cancel your flight or transfer mileage points. So you really shouldn't take pictures of your airline ticket and as soon as you're done with it, shred that thing. Now, one time my husband was flying on Southwest and he just happened to sit in the same seat that a celebrity had used right before him because he was flying down to LA. Now, he rummaged through the pocket in front of him just thinking maybe something's there, and lo and behold, he brought home this celebrity's airline ticket. Now, of course, we did not do anything malicious with it, but we still have that ticket, and I still think it's so funny that this celebrity just stuck his ticket inside the back pocket in front of his seat. So next up, we have number 7, which is keys. They seem pretty innocent, right? But holy moly, when I searched "got my keys" on Twitter, there were a slew of photos of keys. People posting keys all over the place on social media, and that means that anybody could grab the high-res photo and recreate the contours, the notches, and the ridges of your key into a duplicate using a 3D printer. Yes, it is true. This is an actual thing. In fact, I joined another hacker at a video on MatPat's Game Lab, which is another YouTube channel, years ago, and we used a 3D printed key to unlock a TSA luggage lock on a piece of luggage. No problem. The same idea can be used for your car keys or your apartment keys or your house keys. Now double this with your I got an apartment or we bought a house photos that you take in front of your new place sometimes. And somebody can use Google Street View geotags on your photo or your profile location on social media to geolocate your address, unlock your front door with their 3D printed key, and welcome themselves into your private space. And if you think that a 3D printed key would not be strong enough, a savvy actor with a few lockpicking skills could definitely study that photo and gain entry, because those front door locks are not that hard to pick. Also, I should probably mention that 3D printers can now print metal with very precise detail, along with tougher plastics than what we previously saw, so it is entirely possible for this to happen. And now for number 8, we should probably talk about your IMEI on your phone. So your IMEI is your phone's unique identifier, and it is used to verify your phone and make sure it's not stolen, but it's also used in connection processes between you and your carrier. The IMEI should be treated as your device's ID card, and you should not post it online. Reason being, if anybody got a hold of it, they could report the IMEI as a stolen device, thereby burning that device and disabling you from reselling it someday as a clean phone. It could also be spoofed for SIM swapping. Say, for example, an attacker calls up your local carrier and they say, "Hey, my phone was stolen. Here's my IMEI. Can I get that phone number switched over to my new SIM card? Here's the IMEI for my new phone that my new SIM card's in. Cool, thank you." And then they have your phone number. Now that is definitely simplifying the whole social engineering tactic, but it's a thing, and you can definitely use the IMEI as a part of verifying yourself if you were trying to social engineer somebody. So IMEIs that seem fishy can also be blacklisted by a carrier, and you'd not be able to use it for any kind of service. Also, a note for Samsung, please stop engraving the IMEI into the back of your phones. It makes it such a pain to edit my review videos because I have to blur it out everywhere if I intend to actually use that phone. That is so annoying. Okay, let's talk about license plates. So this is a weird one, but your license plate is another one you probably don't want to share online. For less than $100, somebody could type in your license plate number and get all sorts of information about the registered vehicle owner, find out if the car has any violations or tickets, and match it to a home address. So why is this information even available in the first place? Well, DMVs and law enforcement should be the only ones that actually have access to this data. They use it to catch criminals, but data collection sites do exist, and they also collect this kind of information. In fact, the DMV in certain states, including California, have been known to sell this data to insurance companies, to prospective employers, vehicle manufacturers, and more, and they make a profit off of it. Since license plates are public though, since you are always driving around and your license plate should always be showing, I do not recommend covering it up because then you would probably get pulled over, but I have extreme doubt that anybody would actually be plugging in several different license plates in order to find people's data because they'd be paying $100 every single time they wanted to do that. But don't make it easier for people, just leave your license plate offline. Okay, number 10, the one that we have all been waiting for, and this one is vaccine cards for the COVID-19 vaccination. They include your full name, your date of birth, your patient number, and details about your hospital location and your appointment dates. Not only does that allow for somebody to just show up at your second appointment unannounced, which is entirely creepy, but it can also open you up for identity theft. Scammers are also creating forged vaccine cards, using the ones posted online to sell them for profit to people who are required to have vaccines for travel. Okay, these last few on my list are more about general privacy and photography. So number 11 is outdoor photos. See, one time, I feel like I have a lot of stories in this video. It's a lot of stories, isn't it? Hopefully they're good stories. See, I knew a YouTuber who commonly took photos of his car, and his car was parked in a lot right in front of his house. So somebody was able to use Google Street View to find a house on Street View that looked exactly like his. It did not take long since his Twitter also showed his city and his state, allowing the stranger to narrow down the list of potential houses. So before posting a photo outside your place of business or your home, think about how that that could be used to find you. I also know a woman who posted a photo of a fire hydrant near her home that was just exploding. A troll that was harassing her on Twitter found her address on Street View and then threatened to find her and her kids. That one still makes me sick just thinking about it. Thinking about the fact that somebody would be so malicious as to threaten your kids is just entirely wrong. There's no way that that's ever okay. All right, so number 12 is photos of your desk. This one assumes that your desk or your office is as messy as mine is. If you use your desk for storing mail that you have received or post-it notes with little notes on them, or you leave your email inbox open all the time on your screen, taking a photo of that messy desk could give a detailed-oriented attacker access to information like your email inbox or address labels on mail or whatever notes you may have laying around on your desk space. So one, use a password manager for your passwords. Don't write them down on a bunch of post-it notes. But also, if you want to take a photo of your minimalist work from home desk, clear it before taking that photo. And a little bit of a side tangent for influencers, not necessarily if you don't post pictures of boxes or do videos of boxes. If you do unboxing videos or haul videos, use a Sharpie to cover up the UPS label before showing the box on the video. If you use a PO box or a public address, then not that important. But if you still use your home location, you probably don't want random strangers showing up at your front door. Same thing applies for just that tracking number or the barcode on your packages. Sharpie them out before taking photos to ensure that nobody social engineers the information about your address from the shipping carrier. And number 13 is those geotags and that metadata. Practically all of the photos that I have listed above can be used in addition to metadata found within photos to geolocate where you are. Smartphone photos, even some digital camera photos, can store your GPS coordinates within the picture. That's really cool, right? Because you can totally find out where you took that picture of a mountain last year, and then you can go back there and take another picture. But if you take a photo inside your new apartment of your new keys, somebody could geolocate that. If you take a photo in front of your new home with a sold sign, somebody could geolocate that. While most social media platforms in this day and age do automatically remove metadata from photos before it's posted on those platforms, I cannot say the same for cloud services or text messaging apps. So if you send a photo to a friend over a messaging app or upload it to Dropbox or a cloud service, or you email it to somebody, your metadata may still be preserved. It's actually pretty easy to remove it. You can just go into your settings app or your camera app, choose settings, and turn off location tags. I highly recommend just turning it off completely instead of depending on social media to remove that information for you. Now, did my video make you paranoid? Well, don't be. Don't worry, all of this is pretty simple security and privacy hygiene stuff. Anytime I set up a new phone, which I do very, very often, turning off location is just a part of my to-do list. And whenever I am taking photos or shooting video, I just think to myself, is there anything here that could be used against me? And if there's not, then I'm fine. If there is, then I clear it out of the way before I take my picture. The more you know about how the information could be used, the better you can understand why you shouldn't share it with the entire world. So one thing I often hear is, well, I have nothing to hide. That's a common misconception, and I'll be very happy when the day comes that I stop seeing photos of keys and airline tickets being posted online. So what is something that you recommend not taking pictures of and sharing online? This is not an end-all be-all list. Leave your tips below. Thanks again to my s'mores for subscribing and for watching. I'm Shannon Morse, and I will see you soon. Bye, y'all.